Hi, guys. Welcome to Classic Rock and Country Music Facts and Trivia. Appreciate you being here. Before we get started, I ask you to please subscribe. Please share these out. Thank you. Today's video is on 1960s classic rock and roll stars who had hits in the 80s. Do you know who they are? At least you know at least one, right? Let's take a look. Many classic rock stars from the 60s chose to adapt to the times and had hits in the 80s. On the other hand, some classic rock stars from the 60s had hits in the 80s without changing their sound. Notably, some of these 60s stars had hit songs following their deaths. Roy Orbison, You Got It. According to Billboard, Roy Orbison was riding high in the early to mid-60s with hits like Oh Pretty Woman, Crying, and In Dreams. However, he went through the entire 70s, most of the 80s, without a top 40 single. Following his death in 1988, his label released the song You Got It. Notably, the track was co-written by Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne, who were both members of Orbison's band, the Traveling Wilburys. The tune reached number 9 and stayed on the charts for 18 weeks. The song came out decades after Orbison's peak and featured the work of two hip collaborators. It fits right into Orbison's classic sound. John Lennon, just like Starting Over. John Lennon took a 5-year break between the releases of his albums Rock and Roll and Double Fantasy. According to the book All We Are Saying, the last major interview with John Lennon and Yoko Ono, the lead single from Double Fantasy, Just Like Starting Over, was projected to be number 1 single. It only topped the Billboard Hot 100 after John's death. Just Like Starting Over would have been a bold leap into the 80s for John. Instead, it's a nostalgic song that cribs from the rock and roll of the 50s and early 60s. He had other posthumous hits in the 80s, including Woman, Watching the Wheels, and Nobody Told Me. The Monkees, That Was Then, This Is Now. Orbison and John didn't adapt much to the times. On the other hand, the Monkees embraced the sound of a new wave music with their sole 80s hit, That Was Then, This Is Now. Seamlessly combines the chipper bubblegum style of their early material with the sort of synthesizers you'd hear on a Cyndi Lauper album. The tune reached number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100. The Monkees brand also tried to evolve from the 80s with the show The New Monkees, which featured a new cast of characters. That experiment failed, though, lasting in 1 season. Paul Simon's You Can Call Me Al. Like That Was Then, This Is Now, Paul Simon, You Can Call Me Al, delves into the sound of a new wave. However, That Was Then, This Is Now feels youthful, while Simon's song is about midlife crisis. You Can Call Me Al is probably the best song on the topic, partly because of its sense of humor. It's also one of the best synthesizer riffs of the decade. You Can Call Me Al merely reached number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100, but it remains a staple of classic rock radio. It's more well-remembered than other Simon songs that charted higher. I thought this was a cool topic. I'm a big fan of the Monkees. I called it their material kind of bubblegum is because it went towards teenagers, but I think looking back now, the music was great. You got to hand it to Don Kirshner. He knew how to pick music. It's kind of like when they did a show and had Jimi Hendrix as their warm-up act. And he pretty much got booed off the stage because teenage girls wanted the Monkees, which they should never have combined the two to begin with just because. But it's just a shame that the older generation didn't appreciate the Monkees' music because I think they were really good. That's all I have for you. If you have not yet, please subscribe. Please share these out. Have a great day. God bless you. I'll be praying for you.